This is Umar Ahmed for IFL TV, proudly sponsored by Everlast. The amount of times I've talked to Adam Smith, you must have talked to people in boxing about Hearn. I can't quite believe I'm saying it. It's fight week, it's Wednesday, we've had the workouts, we're in Manchester. It's happening, Adam.
I had to go and see both of them in their hotels last night just to make sure that they were in the city and ready. It's pinch yourself stuff, and we've waited way too long for this fight, but thankfully it is almost here. It all culminates on Saturday night. What better place than Manchester? A phenomenal reception, especially for Amir Khan here. I don't think I've ever seen as many people in the Trafford Centre for a workout. It's a real fight, it's a big fight, and I know it's late on in their careers, but it means more to them in many ways than winning their world titles. You know, Amir won his world title here against Andreas Kotelnik. Kell had to go to America to fight Sean Porter, and Dominic was telling me last night he's in the best condition he's seen him since the Porter camp. And Amir says he's never trained harder under his new team Crawford. Terence is in town. I just think it's got all the hallmarks of a massive happening, and I just hope we get a fight night to remember, like I think the fans deserve, and we'll find out, you know, who is the better. And at the moment, I think it's a complete pick-em. You see them in the workouts. They're both in phenomenal shape. It may be a case of who's got more left. Hand speed of Khan, timing of Kell. What about Amir's legs? Are they as good as they once were? Is Kell's resistance starting to go after the Crawford defeat? There's so many questions, so many imponderables. Who will listen to their corner more? Because it's going to be an adrenaline-fueled, emotional hour or two in that Manchester arena, and they've got to hold their nerves in the dressing room. They've got to get out. They've got to perform. But I think the one that keeps themselves together and is more laser focused is probably the one that's going to be the favourite to get the job done. But who knows who that will be?
Yeah, we are in Manchester, and obviously Amir's got an up and down relationship with Manchester. Mad to think this is the arena where he's going to be fighting, where he got knocked out against Brady Prescott, and people were talking about the end of his career potentially at that point.
It was his first fight on Sky. You know, he'd been built up on terrestrial, and he came over to Sky, and everybody was getting excited. And of course, 50-odd seconds later, Brady Prescott had him out of there. And I remember walking back to the press room, and a couple of very, very serious boxing journalists said to me, "That is over for Amir Khan. He will never, ever come back from that." Well, 11 months later, he was beating Andreas Kotelnik for the world title. He took himself away to Freddie Roach, and I've always had huge respect for Amir. He's taken himself away. You know, he realises what he's good at, and he realises maybe what one or two of his weaknesses are. His chin, he elects to trade a bit too much, but there's no question about his talent as a boxer. And, you know, he's got the skills to maybe get the job done on Saturday night at distance and in and out. But the question is, Kell's not going to allow him to do that. So it's fascinating, it really is. And, you know, I was with Dave Colwell up there on stage, and Dave's trained Kell. He's known Kell since he was a kid, so has Johnny. Yeah, they're massive admirers of Amir Khan as well. And they can't pick a winner, and it really is. They're going from one to the other. They're I looked at Kell's legs and I thought, wow, I've not seen his legs in such great condition. And then I see Khan come in, and he looks lithe and he looks terrific. So, I don't know, it's going to go down to Saturday night and who implements the tactics better and who can hold themselves together better, and ultimately maybe who is a slightly classier fighter at this stage of their careers. There's nothing in it for me.
I know this is at £149, but it's no secret that Kell's had his struggles with making 147 previously. Hasn't got the IBF issue this time around, which he's had when he was defending his world titles in terms of that check weight. But there has been a lot of talk about the rehydration stuff, and he doesn't really want to talk about it too much because he says contractually he can't. Do you think weight could be a problem for Kell come Saturday?
I thought weight was a problem when he fought Errol Spence. I remember saying to Eddie after the Golovkin fight, I think this is a really, really hard fight for Kell. Not just that we'd seen a lot of Errol in America on our shows on BBC or Showtime or HBO, whoever he was with. I think it was with Showtime at the time. We'd seen a lot of Errol, and I worried for Kell, not because he wasn't good enough, but because of the weight. And he boxed really well for half of that fight, and then of course the body shots, it started to get the better of him. I think the weight could be an issue. I'm told by the whole of the Brook camp, and I've been told sort of pretty much every week, that his weight is absolutely terrific. He's got to make 149 on Friday. You know, let's hope he's not too far above that now, and we will see what happens on weigh-in day. But he'll make it. It's the case of the rehydration and the fact that he's been asked to make this weight, and he wouldn't have, certainly wouldn't have preferred to. He's had to take, some parts of the contract which he probably didn't want to, but that's his hunger to get this fight over the line. Hopefully that won't come into it, and it will just come down to both will be nice and rehydrated, both will be fit and strong, and it will come down to the better guy on the night. We don't want that to become an issue.
Adam, been some brilliant shoulder content on Sky around this fight. Obviously the gloves are off, which is very entertaining. We had the 2 episodes of Behind the Ropes as well, which I'm sure people watched last night. Given the hype that's increasing, obviously Friday night is going to be at its peak, but I can feel the hype gradually increasing. How many buys do you think this does on Sky box office?
Well, look, I don't know. We don't really talk about that too much. We try to let let things develop as they do on fight weeks. I think it's a big fight, and I think a lot of people will be very interested out of a curiosity factor to see, the culmination of the story. And they've always sort of argued in the pubs and clubs around the country and the restaurants. They were this week. Who's better, Khan or Brook? One guy there just said to me he's a massive Khan fan, but Brook wins the fight. People don't know, and I think that's what's going to capture the imagination. I think it's what has captured the imagination this week. Yeah, you're right. Some excellent shoulder programming by the team. Some fantastic accessibility from the fighters, which is key to any promotion. Sky Sports News, the digital and social teams, everybody's working very hard to push what is a great story, a great narrative. So I expect the numbers to be very good, and I think they deserve to be. I think these 2 fighters deserve them to be good, because they've been excellent former world champions, and they've been fantastic for British boxing for the last couple of decades, and we need now to find out who's the best. And I think we'll have a good night.
Well, everyone tune in live this Saturday night. Just a couple of more things, please, Adam. Some really positive news for Sky off of Eubank Williams. Since Joshua Cornish and Khan Vargas, it was your highest rated fight, over 1 million views across the Sky platform. So yeah, your reaction to that, please, Adam?
Yeah, it's excellent. We had it on Sky Showcase as well as Sky Main Event, and I think that's fantastic. Obviously, boxing is in a great place. There's so many shows going on the other channels. The John Ryder show the other night, DAZN are regularly at it. Obviously, BT are coming back strong with they'll have their shows announced soon. Obviously, Fury White we're waiting for. So look, it's not just us, but it's boxing generally that's going through a great time. But I think it's also important that we're putting big fights on Sky Sports as well as Sky Box Office. So you've got, the Eubank Williams fight on Sky Sports. Eubank's a big name. Obviously, he attracts. It was a great fight, wasn't it? As in on paper beforehand. I think in reality, it was a very fascinating fight. The 4 knockdowns, and I think it drifted a bit. And I thought Chris was brilliant for a few rounds and let Liam Williams back into it. But ultimately, Eubank won well, and it was a great match on paper, and that was delivered on Sky Sports. Next week we've got Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall as well on Sky Sports. You've got the sort of sparkling attraction of Khan Brook in the middle on Box Office, and it's been a great February. And I think, look, the numbers were good. I'm hoping the numbers will be good for Saturday night, and I'm sure they will again next week. But we can't rest on our laurels. I say to Ben, every day we've got to move forward and think forward of the next shows, of the next stories, the next narrative. I'm looking at the Azeems. What are we doing with them? Fraser Clark, Caroline Dubois next out, and obviously Tasha fighting for a world title. There's so much going on, as well as what's actually happening at the sort of top end, that we need to work at night and day. And I know how good Eddie and Frank are, and I know how good Frank and his boys are as well over at Queensbury and BT. So we've got to be on our toes. I'm really enjoying working with Ben, and we're 6 months in, and we've got a very exciting couple of weeks, and then we'll have some really, hopefully, big announcements and good fights to come in the next 2 or 3 months. But we can't have everything. There's lots of other good stuff on the other channels. I think it's great for the boxers, great for the fans, and great for all of us that there's a lot of competition around, and people want to look at the turnout today. People want to be around big fights, and we've got plenty coming up.
Absolutely, we look forward to it. Adam, just a question on Sky Showcase. So you mentioned that Eubank Williams was on Sky Showcase. Were any Matchroom shows ever put on Sky Showcase? And if they weren't, how comes you're putting them on Sky Showcase now?
It's a good question. It's not really a question for me. Sky Showcase is new, the old Sky One, and so there was a lot of cross promotion over the Matchroom years on Sky One. Whether can't remember off the top of my head whether anything was actually filmed live at the same time or put on live. But I know that we are using our arsenal of platform. We're using all different multi-platforms to get the best possible, audience on our sports. And it's not just boxing. We can use our reach for football, obviously, for Formula One, for cricket, for the 100, for the other sports. And I think that it's important that we try these things out, certainly for the big nights. So yeah, look, we're really pleased that we got help from our colleagues amongst Sky. It's a huge network underneath the Comcast banner, and we've got to use our strengths and our, as I said, our arsenal. But yeah, listen, Matchroom got huge coverage over the years as well, and let's not get into tit for tat. We had a wonderful relationship with Matchroom, Eddie and Frank and I especially, and we had some amazing nights. And Ben and I were just talking about those amazing nights. From Froch Groves to the AJ nights, Klitschko, etc., and many others, and many sort of smaller shows. It was a wonderful partnership for 10 years, and I'm not going to get into the sort of is it better now? Was it better then? Ultimately, it's a different time. Eddie moved to DAZN. They're making great strides there with a lot of fights around the world. They've got a huge stable. We're trying to rebuild on Sky, and I think with Boxer and Top Rank, the two big deals that we've got, I think we're doing really well, and I think it's a work in progress. And after 6 months, I didn't think we'd be in this position to put a show on like Calm Brook, and also Josh Taylor next week. I'm so pleased we've got Josh back. We've had Eubank Williams, many more shows to come. And as I said, we play our part within the Sky business, and we're in a good place. The platform's huge.
I asked that because Mike Costello did an interview with Eddie, and he believes now that Sky are pushing boxing 10 times harder than when he was at Sky. So is that the case? Are you going at the same rate? Are you pushing it harder?
I think look, there's times in the sun. We all know there's times in the sun for boxing. We're in it every day, you and I, and obviously the inner teams, but we've got to be sensible. When you have a company like Sky, where football rules Sky Sports, and yet entertainment rules, and mobile and broadband and all the other Sky News and all the other assets that Sky have got under Comcast, which has obviously got NBC and Universal as well. We're a small part of it, but we're an important part, and we've always been an important part around box office fights or big Sky Sports fights. And we had big Sky Sports fights with Eddie. We put Froch Boutte on, AJ Cornish. They did huge numbers. But I think it's really important that we continue to try and give our customers the best possible fights when we can. And Eddie's got to remember that he took his stable to DAZN and left us. And we have to rebuild, and we've got this deal with Top Rank, which has given us the likes of your Crawfords, your Inoues, your Lomachenkos, your Michaela Mayers, and then you've got Ben, who's building a stable up, a small but very exciting stable, which is going to grow. We don't want it to grow too big, but ultimately, Eddie's a brilliant promoter. Frank's a brilliant right hand to Eddie. I worked with them, for so long, and loved every minute of that. And I think we did very well. Whether Sky are putting a little bit more weight behind boxing now because it sees a future, a bigger future. Well, that's also part of the future, the past rather, that Eddie and Sky built. And so look, I think we had a great 10 years together, and I think this sort of tit for tat, and we're putting 10 times. I think I don't think there's any point really. Eddie's got a job to do with Frank and his team and Joe and all that over at DAZN and Matchroom, and from what I can see, they're doing a great job. They're putting on fantastic fights, great shows. I'm watching them. It's great, and we're doing what we can. We don't have it. We have the company surrounding us for big events. Sometimes, when there's smaller fight nights, we're not going to get the exposure maybe, and things change and different priorities for the business at different times. But what I do know is that the sun's shining this week and the whole business is behind us, and it's going to be an incredible next 2 or 3 days and a phenomenal night. And yeah, I'm sure Eddie would have loved to have put on Calm Brook, of course. It's one of those fights that it's just got a great story. He's got many other great fights, and Frank's about to put on Fury White. I mean, there's no other bigger heavyweight fight at the moment. We're waiting for AJ and Usyk and the announcement there, but first up looks like Fury and White. That's a huge fight for BT. DAZN have got enormous fights coming up. I really like the Conlon Wood fight. I saw Mike down in Cardiff, and that's a really good fight. There's lots and lots of global stuff. We're just doing what we can on our platform, on Sky Sports, to give our customers the best mix of sport, whether it's football, Formula One, cricket, golf, netball or boxing or rugby league or darts, we give them the package, as you and I know. And of course, we try and push boxing as best we can. And if the business is supporting us, better now than it has been, then it's good for us.
Well, the customers are definitely getting rewarded in February in terms of your boxing schedule. We're bang in the middle of it. We're with the cherry on the cake for this one. Adam, look forward to Saturday night. I'm sure we'll catch up tomorrow at the presser anyways, all right? Thank you.
Cheers, no problem.